What is up, everybody? You are back with another episode of the Chronically Motivated Project, where we talk about effective thinking and how to overcome some of the hardest things you'll ever face in life just by the way you think. Today's episode, or today's motto, as it is Monday's motto, is questions are the answer. A French writer in the 1600s named Voltaire said, "Judge a man by the questions he asks rather than the answers he gives." A lot of people are constantly searching for the answer to life, if you want to be philosophical, but they're constantly looking for an answer to a problem they have or a situation they have, or they're looking for a solution to this ginormous problem they're facing. And they never think about the questions that are important to get to that answer. Most of the time they just shit out an answer, or they just shit on themselves and kind of tell themselves they suck and why they can't solve that problem. And that's a huge problem. We all have problems in life that require solutions. That's just life. That's how it is. The smartest people in the world ask the right questions. Albert Einstein said if he was given an hour to solve a problem and his life depended on it, he would spend 55 of those minutes asking himself the right question about the problem before even beginning to come up with an answer. He would focus on the question. This whole episode is on why questions are the real answer. Questions we ask ourselves determine our quality of life. They determine our emotional state. They determine just how happy we are and what we do, how we act and react to situations. Like with anything, there are good questions and bad questions, or good answers and bad answers. Don't believe that shit people used to say, teachers used to say. There's no such thing as a bad question, or no such thing as a dumb question, or no such thing as a dumb answer. There really is such thing as dumb questions and answers. It's a real thing. We do, on that note, ask ourselves some really fucking dumb questions sometimes, and it fucks up our whole life. It fucks up our whole process of solution because of some of the questions we ask ourselves. So before we even delve into the right questions, we're going to talk about some of the wrong questions that make it even worse. They make the problem even worse when you ask these wrong questions. When I was a kid, when I was in school, and again, I'm sure someone's going to get offended about what I'm about to say. That's where I should say sorry, but I'm not going to. I'm letting you know what happened to me, okay? This is not how I feel. I'm letting you know. When I was a kid, kids would try and always joke with each other. And they would say things like, "Does your mom know you're gay?" And we'd be like, "No." They're like, "Oh, so you didn't tell her you're gay?" And I'm like, "Wait, I'm not gay." These kids were geniuses in developing these types of questions that you just couldn't get out of. Like, you were screwed either way you looked at it. But those type of loaded questions, we do that to ourselves all the time. Like, yeah, that was supposed to be a joke, and obviously it wasn't funny, but we do those loaded questions to ourselves. We literally set ourselves up for failure by the questions we ask ourselves that guarantee a negative response. Or we just don't ask ourselves questions at all. We ask yourself, why do I suck at life? Why is everything always bad happen to me? Why do I have this shitty life? How come I never have it awesome? How come I never have an awesome life? How come I never, why me? You're setting yourself up. So if you answer that question, why do I have such a shitty life? You could answer it in a way that, well, you have such a shitty life because you make bad decisions. Okay, it's still your fault. Well, you have a shitty life because it's just supposed to be that way. Okay, so then it's still your fault. Like, any way you put it, it's that loaded question that makes you seem like you suck. But you asked the question. It was you who asked that question in the first place. I suck. Oh, poor me. I'm not good enough. I'm not good at anything. And then sometimes we skip that question altogether and just tell ourselves things. We give ourselves commands like, or we tell ourselves these negative things like, I'm terrible. I'm a shitty person. No one likes me. You start skipping the question completely. And to me, that's the equivalent of, going to the first day of history class and being in the classroom, and as the teacher walks in, you shout, you just scream, 1952! You're just giving an answer to a question that just wasn't even asked in the first place. That, to me, it just sounds stupid to start telling yourself things like, I suck, and all that. Why not go back to the questions first before you start giving yourself answers? You have the ability, everyone has the ability to ask themselves questions to solve the problems. Everyone does. Effective questions drastically improve your quality of life. Let me give you an example or a few examples of effective questions. Ask, what is the meaning of the problem? What is the meaning of the situation that happened? The real meaning, not the emotional meaning that you give yourself, my business failed and now my life sucks. That's the emotional meaning. The real meaning is, I didn't market this correctly and I didn't get the profit that I wanted. That's the real meaning. What that means is you have to go back to the drawing board. Asking yourself the right question. What is the meaning of this? What can I personally do about this situation? What can I do? Not focusing on what I can't do, focusing on what I can do. How can I use this situation to my benefit? What can I do in this situation to turn this into my benefit, whether it's a learning experience or going a different route? How can I alter my strategy to be more successful, whether it be now or in the near future or in the far future? How can I handle this as effectively as possible? That's one of the most important questions you can ask yourself on a daily basis. Anytime something seemingly bad happens, you ask yourself, how can I handle this in the most effective way possible? Because then when you ask yourself that question after something happens and you start to throw a tantrum or you start screaming or arguing with people that you care about, and you just dial back and you say, how can I handle this effectively? You're like, well, yelling is not effective. Yelling at the flight attendant or the flight gate agent because your flight has taken off because you were 30 minutes late. Yelling at that person is not going to help. For one, it was probably your fault. And even if it wasn't, they can't control it. If anything, they can help you, and you're yelling at the person that can help you. We do that a lot. That's not effective. Ask yourself that question. That question will get you out of a lot of shit. It'll get you out of a lot of emotional shit, a lot of mental stress and struggle and anxiety and depression. How can I handle this event effectively? Good questions are inquisitive of all solutions, all possible solutions. A good question is an attempt to find multiple, if there are multiple solutions or multiple ways to a solution. That's a good question. Now, non-effective questions like, why me? Why does this always happen to me? Am I dumb? Well, I can't answer the whole if you're dumb thing, but I can say your questions are dumb because they're leading you to nothing. Literally leads you to shitty answers and shitty thoughts and shitty actions and reactions and a shitty life when you ask yourself those non-effective, shitty questions. Bad questions do nothing to solve the problem. They literally just occupy space in your head. And I don't know if you're like me, but I have enough stuff going on in my head. I don't have room for ineffective thinking. How much better would your life be if you finally realize that you don't have enough room for ineffective thinking? You don't have space or time or energy for ineffective thinking. So the second one of those ineffective thoughts come into your mind, you're like, wow, I really can't afford this. I can't afford this right now, and I'm not going to think like this because it's ineffective and I have no space for it. mind blown. Quality of life improved instantly. Well, it's not that easy. It is that easy. Okay, it may not be easy because it takes practice, but it is simple. Not easy, but it is simple. Non-effective questions just take you so much further from where you need to be. It's like going on the most ineffective navigation route ever. Instead of going straight down the road, you jump on the sidewalk and drive through people's lawns, get arrested, get bailed out, come back, and then get to the destination. That doesn't make sense. It's ineffective. Well, it still works. That's not a good argument either. That's also ineffective. You know? Basically, what you need to do is shut the fuck up and think. I really hope, my girlfriend's going to be editing this. I really hope she can put, like, maybe up here somewhere, like here, like hashtag STFU and think. Shut the fuck up and think. We need to get that going because that would solve a majority of most people's problems. If they just shut the fuck up and thought about the right way to handle the situation effectively. Instead of typing their problems on Facebook or LiveJournal or whatever the hell you're using, or texting all your friends the same story about how bad your life sucks, or calling people on the phone and bitching constantly, or, you know, crying to yourself about why your life sucks. What can I do? How can I think more effectively? How can I handle this situation more effectively? What is the meaning of this situation? What can I personally do to solve this right now, tomorrow, and in the next year? What can I do? Take responsibility through your questions to develop the right answers and actions to be successful. It starts with the question. It starts with you choosing to ask yourself the right questions. Ask the right questions to your problems. All your problems can be solved with the concept of correct questioning or effective questioning. Let's take depression, for example. Let's break everything down and not just accept that we are depressed or accept that we suck or accept that anything like that. Yes, there is clinical depression. Those people need help. It's a disease, and I understand that, or a disorder, or whatever you want to call it. But the majority of depression in people is usually a byproduct of the way people think and talk to themselves. So when we take that depression or that anxiety that people are struggling with right now, and we ask, why are we depressed? Why is it that I'm depressed right now? And I'm going to list a bunch of things. I'm going to list a bunch of things that are making me depressed right now. Okay, great. Now that list is narrowing down from I am depressed, this ginormous cloud, to a bunch of little clouds. Okay, it's getting better already. Now take each one of those individual things and attach those effective questions to it. What is the meaning of this problem that's causing me to be depressed? What can I personally do about it? How can I think more effectively regarding this issue? Can I alter my strategy to solve this in a different way? If you do that strategy for each little bit that you think is causing your depression, you're going to have so much more clarity. And the lack of clarity is what usually causes the frustration and the anxiety. We don't compartmentalize. We take everything as a whole, all these little events, and we compile them into one big fucking pile of depression, when we can separate them and attack each one individually, isolate the entire problem into the little individual problems that you can actually solve. What's the saying? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Most people are afraid to make that journey, or afraid to solve the problem because the problem is too big. But in reality, the problem is usually a series of little problems that can be dealt with, inevitably leading to the solving of the bigger problem. Effective questioning breaks down those barriers that you kind of built in the way you thought about the problem. Your whole life choice, you know, whatever you want to do in life, people get anxiety because I don't know exactly what I want to do right now. I'm freaking out. What happens if this happens? What happens if this happens? But we go back to the whole, what can I control? I can control the effort I put in. I can control my reactions to situations. I can control what I'm studying now, or what I'm learning, or what time I'm not wasting. You ask yourself the right questions and you move in the right direction, and vice versa. If you start attacking yourself and asking yourself the wrong questions, or just telling yourself you can't do it, you're setting yourself up for failure and just a lack of quality of life. You can't focus on what you can't control. And you can only focus on what you can control. Who'd have thunk it? Ask yourself the right questions. Show me a person who is defeated by their problems, and I'll show you a person who's asking the wrong questions. Good quality questions reduce bad quality answers. You're going to fuck up in life. It's life. That's just going to happen. But those mistakes, even if they don't give you the answers, they will provide you with the questions that will end up giving you the best possible answers. The mistakes, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna be at an impasse. You're gonna have a problem or a difficult time or an adversity or a disease or a struggle or a death or a loss or a breakup or depression or anxiety. That's called life. All of that encompassed in life, and you'll probably experience a lot of those, if not almost all of them, at some period or point in your life. And when you come to that impasse, when you come to that fork in the road, you have an option of asking yourself, questioning yourself effectively to overcome it and go the efficient route to the solution, or not, and being ineffective and attacking yourself for things you couldn't control and disregarding the things you can control. I can tell you, I've been down that path, that ineffective, shitty path, and it's not fun. And it's hard to come back from, and some people don't. And it all stemmed from my lack of effective questioning of my reactions and my thoughts. And once I figured out that I could decide to question myself in the correct way, I found myself enjoying life a lot more. I found myself not bogged down or burdened with problems that were outside of my realm of control. Effective thinking stems from effective questioning. So if you want to live a quality of life, the questions are the answer. That wraps up today's Monday's Motto, Chronically Motivated Project podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will be back tomorrow with Trash Talk Tuesday, and tomorrow is going to be a fire episode. Super excited for tomorrow. And until then, I will talk to you guys later.